So the first thing I've got to say on this, and sadly this makes some weight trainers a little bit annoyed with me, but frankly for me it's so provable that it's not contentious whatsoever, and it's that cardio absolutely trumps weight training when it comes to potential calorie burn and the way it can raise your heart rate. None of this, of course, is to diminish or devalue the role that weight training can have on not only weight loss, but also your health, well-being, fitness, etc. I think it's worth me stressing here that it isn't binary. I love both of these things. I love both cardio and weight training can absolutely be a powerful tool for all of these things. It's just that for me, the key distinction here is that it's the potential, it's the capacity that cardio type exercises can have that exceed weight training, okay, and make them superior, typically, and that's a key word, typically to weight training. Let me stress this, let me make this very clear. You can still have a very, very effective weight training workout for weight loss, but really the potential for more calorie burn is with cardio. It depends what type of cardio, but again, generally speaking, that's the key phrase here. Generally speaking, it's with cardio. Does that make sense? Now, some people here would step up and cite the sort of metabolic benefits of weight training and how having more muscle mass can allow you to eat more calories and change your energy expenditure and whatnot. And I think this is a really important point. I just don't think it's that valid for most people looking to lose weight. Okay, it's definitely valid for bodybuilders who, if they have, you know, above norms 20, 30 pounds of extra muscle, then yeah, absolutely. The calories that can afford them in terms of calorie consumption is much greater. Yeah, I don't deny that. And the afterburn, yeah, there is something to that argument. I don't deny any of these things. I just don't think that's particularly relevant to the average individual looking to lose weight. So all in all, I know there's a lot of back and forth on this. What I want to stress in my first point of note on this really, or my first piece of advice rather on this, is that I think you should probably have a cardio-based approach when it comes to losing weight. Or rather, that's what's optimal. You can do what you want, but that's what's most ideal. That doesn't mean no weight training, by the way. I would always suggest doing some, but make most of your exercise plan, split, regimen based on cardio. That's going to allow you more potential and capacity for weight loss. Does that make sense? Now, again, I can play devil's advocate with this, and there are lots of caveats and exceptions. I've got a client right now who just started doing Pilates. Now, by all definitions, Pilates is something that typically is considered a more low to moderate intensity exercise. And they're using this in conjunction with the elliptical, which you would say has a greater potential because it's so intense and it involves so much of the body and the movement that it incurs. It has a greater potential for calorie burn. My client, though, is putting their hand on their chest after the elliptical. They're noticing how sweaty, excuse me, talking about this is a bit vivid and graphic, isn't it? Sweaty after the Pilates workout. Now, again, this is all observational. The next step would be to test this with a Fitbit or an Apple Watch or some sort of technology like that, some bit of software or an app like that. But anecdotally, the intensity that the Pilates is allowing them to tap into is much greater than what they're doing on the elliptical. Again, we could raise the question of, well, could they work harder on the elliptical? Yeah, sure, absolutely. But isn't that interesting? Okay, just one example of how really the control is with you folks. You can really change and dictate the intensity you put into almost any exercise and make it more or less effective for weight loss, depending on how much you push yourself with it. Does that make sense? So I want to stress here, there's no really inferior or very bad exercises for weight loss. It's just that some have more potential than others. And I feel that's the distinction that very rarely gets made. The next question is, because you might be thinking, okay, Ryan, I've got you on this, mostly cardio, I can do that, I can get that done with a little bit of weight training, but then how many minutes should I do every single week for weight loss? People always want to know this. Frankly, folks, I'm not going to sit on the fence with this because I am going to give you some specific numbers in just a second. But what I do have to say is that this is very contextual, okay? It's very, very relative to you, right? I would need to know an awful lot about you personally before I advised anything. And of course, I'm making a YouTube video here. This is sort of general catering, if you will, to lots and lots of people. That said, I do think that maybe as a marker, 180 minutes, so 3 hours of low to moderate intensity exercise would probably be a great benchmark for beginners. More advanced folk may wish to aim for something like 180 again, low to moderate exercise, but maybe try and fit in 60 to 90 minutes per week of very high intensity exercise where they are really pushing themselves, they are sweating a little bit, they're going for those PRs, and the heart rate is going some. And I think that's, again, very contextual, but these are good markers. Another question I often receive is, how should your nutrition change, Ryan? Or how should rather my nutrition change, Ryan, if I am doing lots of exercise? I think there's lots of things to consider here, such as calories, carbohydrates for our fuel, of course protein, therefore to build, I was about to say recovery, but very specifically build and maintain body tissue. Anti-inflammatory foods as well are worth considering. Studies show that, generally speaking, plant-based diets are wonderful, or may have very good, I should say, anti-inflammatory, a very good anti-inflammatory effect. But there are some foods, such as leafy greens, blueberries, turmeric, sweet potatoes, etc., that do have lots of anti-inflammatory properties. You want lots of antioxidants as well, of course, and these things can really help you recover. But yeah, maybe you do need to, as I say, eat a little bit more calories if you're doing lots of exercise. You should consider making sure your carbohydrate intake, as always, frankly, is nice and high. You should make sure you're eating moderate amounts of, at least, of protein. And yeah, you will need a little bit more protein if you're doing a lot more exercise than previously. Does that make sense? There are some people who, or lots of people actually, lots of my clients who, as my program goes on, they actually end up eating more. We get them to eat more and more calories. And you think, hold on, this is backwards. This is counterintuitive from a weight loss perspective. But it's because of the way they've progressed with exercise. Does that make sense? So they actually, can keep losing weight by eating more food, or rather more calories specifically, which is pretty, as I say, astounding and sort of counterintuitive, but absolutely is something that I see time and time again. So some brief tips there to get started, folks. In summary, cardio trumps weight training. That isn't to devalue weight training. It's just the potential that it has. Focus on building yourself up to more intensity and time. Start out as a beginner with very basic stuff, things like walking, yoga, Zumba. The more low, not to discredit those things, but the low to more moderate intensity stuff, and then build up to those more intense forms of cardio, and it will really help you from a weight loss perspective. That is what's ideal anyway for fast, effective, and optimal weight loss. Hope this video helps. For more weight loss resources, as always, head over to naturalweightlossmastery.com. See you soon.